Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In this lesson we are going to make the final set of particles that we are going to use in this game. When I say a set of particles, I mean the particles that play when our player dies or when he collides with an obstacle. We are going to have 4 particles for this, one for each color that our player can obtain. And it's going to be kind of an exploding effect. Since you already know the process of creating particles, this should be a bit quicker. So right click in the hierarchy tab and create a new particle system. We can name it Game Over Red. Move it into position. And after that make it a child of the player game object. There are several options that we want to change. First, the duration will be set to 1. The start lifetime will be 0.5 and the start size will be 0.2. The scaling mode is going to be shape, and of course we want to disable the looping and the play on the wake option. After that, let's go to emission and change the emission rate, or rate over time. Since this is going to be an explosion effect, we want a lot of particles. Let's increase it to 55. After that, let's move to the shape options. We will change the shape from cone to sphere. The radius of the sphere will be 0.6. The randomized direction will be 0.66 and the spherized direction will be 1. And the final thing that we want to change is in the Renderer tab, and it's going to be the maximum particle size. We are going to reduce it to 0.2. Now let's create the materials. We are going to need 4 materials for all the different colors. Right click on the material folder, go to create and choose material. The first is going to be Game Over Red. Click on shader, go to particles and choose additive. Simply select the red dot sprite that we created. Let's do the same for the rest of the colors. Once you are done with that, head back to the Game Over Red particle system. Scroll all the way down to the Renderer tab and drag in the Game Over Red material. Since we need 3 more of the same particles just with different colors, we can duplicate this particle. Select it and press Ctrl+ D on your keyboard. 1, 2, and 3. Let's change the names first so we don't get confused. Now we want to change the colors as well. We simply need to replace this material with the right color. I just realized that I made a mistake while adjusting these parameters. So select the Game Over Red, Game Over Yellow, Cyan and Magenta, and we need to change the start speed to 15 and reduce the start size to 0.2. Now it should be a lot better. Now that is done, we will need to trigger these particles with a script. The script that handles the collision with the obstacle is also the player collision script, so right click and choose Edit Script to open it up. we should find a comment here indicating that this is the code that's going to be executed when we collide with an obstacle. So right here, after we update the score, we have the scene manager which loads the game over scene immediately. Now that's going to be a problem. If the new scene is loaded up immediately, we will not see the particles because they take 1 second to play. So we want to delay the scene manager by 1 second. And the easiest way to do that comes to my mind right now is to create a separate method which is going to change the scene, and we will invoke it with 1 second delay. If you don't know what methods are in C#, don't worry because it's going to be just a simple piece of code and you can follow along, but I strongly advise you to learn a bit more about methods in C# because they are extremely useful. To create a new method, we will type public void and the name of the method. Let's simply call it killPlayer. It will not take any parameters, and what we want to do in this method is the exact same as this. So we can simply take this, cut it and insert it here in this method. Now we want to call this method right here, however we want to have a 1 second delay. To do that we will use the invoke function, and inside of the brackets we need to type the name of the method that we want to call, but it should be inside of quotation marks. After that we want to separate it with a comma and write a float value indicating the delay time. It's going to be 1 second for now. Now, since we have 4 different particles, we'll need 4 new variables. Again, it's going to be of type particle system. And the first one is going to be game over red. We can simply copy this one and paste it here 3 times and simply change the name according to color. If the player was yellow at the time of dying, we want to play the yellow particle, of course. If the player was red, we want to play the red particle, and so on. We will need to check which color the player was before we play the particles. To do that, we will be using simple if statements. So if the name of the player equals to red, we want to play the red particle. The name of that particle is game over red dot play. If the name of the player wasn't red, we want to keep checking. So now we want to check whether the name was yellow. And if it was yellow, we want to play the game over yellow particle. However, if it wasn't yellow, we will still keep checking. Now let's check whether the name was cyan. If it was cyan, we want to play the game over cyan particle. And finally, if it's none of these names, we will simply use an else statement, because it's got to be something, and then we want to play the game over magenta. Let's save this, go back to Unity, select the player game object, and we need to attach these particles right here. Let's see how it looks like now. Okay, so that was the red one. Let's see if it works for the other colors. As you can see, everything works perfectly, except that we can still move after we die, and that's because we have the delay before it takes us to the next scene. We are going to be fixing that in the next lesson by freezing everything else and just letting the particle system animation play.